The brutal lesson learned from loving too much. The brutal lesson learned from loving too much is this: the more you abandon yourself for someone else, the easier it becomes for them to abandon you. And sometimes the deepest heartbreak doesn't come from being unloved. It comes from realizing that while you were giving someone your entire world, they were only giving you a small corner of theirs. Have you ever loved someone so much that you stopped recognizing yourself? Not because they asked you to change, not because they forced you to sacrifice, but because somewhere along the way, their happiness became more important than your own. You started adjusting, compromising, waiting. You answered every message immediately. You forgave things that hurt you. You ignored your intuition when it whispered that something wasn't right. And every time a piece of you broke, you told yourself the same story. That's what love is. But what if that's not love? What if the very thing you called devotion was slowly becoming self-abandonment? Tonight, I want to tell you a story. Not about villains and victims, not about evil people and innocent hearts, but about a mistake millions of people make without realizing it. A mistake so common that movies romanticize it, songs celebrate it, society praises it, yet it quietly destroys people from the inside. Because loving too much doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like staying silent when you're hurting. Sometimes it looks like giving endless chances. Sometimes it looks like waiting years for someone to become the person they promised they would be. And by the time you realize what's happening, you've lost something far more valuable than the relationship. You've lost yourself. And the painful truth is that nobody warns us about this lesson until life teaches it the hard way. So if you've ever given your whole heart to someone, if you've ever wondered why your love wasn't enough, stay with me, because the lesson you're about to hear might change the way you love forever. Part 1. The moment love becomes self-abandonment, the tragedy doesn't begin when someone leaves you. It begins when you start leaving yourself to keep them. There is a quiet moment in many relationships that nobody notices, a moment so small it seems harmless, a moment that changes everything. It happens when you stop asking, "What do I need?" and begin asking only, "What do they need?" At first it feels noble. You call it kindness, you call it commitment, you call it love. But slowly, something dangerous begins to grow. Imagine a tree that gives away every leaf, every branch, every root to keep another tree alive. For a while it looks generous, but eventually it dies. Not because it wasn't loving, because it forgot that survival matters too. Many people spend years doing exactly this. They sacrifice their boundaries, their dreams, their time, their identity. And because society often glorifies self-sacrifice, they mistake their exhaustion for proof of love. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But many people in relationships lose their why. Their purpose becomes another person. Their identity becomes another person's approval. Their emotional weather depends entirely on another person's mood. And this is where suffering begins. Because the moment your happiness depends completely on someone else, you hand them power they were never meant to carry. Think about modern relationships. How many people stare at their phones waiting for a text message that determines whether their day feels good or terrible? How many people postpone their dreams because they're afraid of upsetting someone they love? How many people silence their truth because honesty might create conflict? Little by little, they disappear. Not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually, like a photograph fading under sunlight. And here's the cruel irony. The more desperately people try to hold on by sacrificing themselves, the less authentic they become. The less authentic they become, the weaker the connection grows, because nobody can truly love the version of you that exists only to please them. Real love requires two complete people, not one person carrying another, not one person shrinking so the other can feel bigger, The first brutal lesson is simple: love should cost effort. It should never cost your identity. The day you start abandoning yourself for love is the day love begins abandoning you. And most people don't realize it until it's far too late. Part 2. Why loving more doesn't make someone love you back more. What if the greatest heartbreak of your life came from believing that if you just loved harder, everything would eventually work out? This is one of the most painful illusions people carry, the belief that love operates like a reward system. If I give more, they'll appreciate me more. If I'm patient enough, they'll change. If I sacrifice enough, they'll finally realize my worth. But life rarely works that way, and relationships certainly don't. Imagine standing in the middle of a desert with a bucket of water. In front of you is a garden. You pour water onto the soil every single day. You protect it from storms. You care for it endlessly, yet no flowers appear. Not because you didn't give enough, but because there were no seeds there to begin with. Many people spend years trying to grow love in places where love was never capable of growing. And instead of accepting this painful reality, they blame themselves. Maybe I wasn't attractive enough. Maybe I wasn't patient enough. Maybe I didn't love enough. But the truth is often much simpler. You cannot love someone into becoming who they are not. You cannot heal someone who refuses healing. You cannot convince someone to value what they never learned to appreciate. The philosopher Carl Jung warned that people often project fantasies onto others instead of seeing them clearly. And nowhere is this more common than in love. We fall in love not only with who someone is, we fall in love with who we hope they will become. We create future versions of them in our minds, a kinder version, a more committed version, a more loving version. Then we spend years waiting for that imaginary person to arrive, but they never do. Because they were never real. The tragedy is that while you're loving their potential, you're ignoring their reality. You're listening to promises instead of patterns, words instead of actions, hope instead of evidence. And hope can become a prison. Not because hope is bad, but because false hope keeps people attached to situations that are already teaching them the truth. Look around. How many people stay in one-sided relationships because they remember who someone was during the first few months? How many remain loyal to memories while ignoring the present? How many keep giving because they believe one more sacrifice will finally make the other person see their value? Years pass, nothing changes except them. They become exhausted, anxious, emotionally starved, and still they keep giving. Why? Because somewhere deep inside, they believe love is earned through suffering. But love is not a transaction. You do not purchase affection through sacrifice. You do not earn commitment through self-destruction, and you do not prove your worth by enduring endless disappointment. One day, a difficult realization arrives, the realization that some people benefited from your love without ever intending to return it. Not because they were necessarily cruel, but because they were comfortable receiving what they never planned to give. And that's when the second brutal lesson reveals itself. The amount you love someone does not determine the amount they will love you. Love is not multiplication, it is recognition. The right person doesn't need endless proof of your value, they recognize it. The wrong person can receive oceans of love and still leave thirsty. And the moment you understand this, you stop trying to earn what should be freely given. You stop proving, you stop chasing, you stop bargaining, and for the first time you begin seeing people not through the lens of hope, but through the lens of truth. Part 3. The hidden addiction behind loving too much. The most dangerous part of loving too much is that it doesn't always feel like suffering. Sometimes it feels like purpose. This is where the story becomes uncomfortable. Because at some point, the problem is no longer the person who hurts us. The problem becomes our attachment to the pain itself. Most people think they're addicted to a person. They're not. They're addicted to what that person makes them feel. The anticipation, the uncertainty, the emotional highs and lows, the hope that tomorrow will finally be different. Think about a slot machine in a casino. If it never paid out, nobody would play it. If it paid out every time, it would become predictable. What keeps people pulling the lever is uncertainty. Maybe the next spin will be the one. Maybe this time will be different. Relationships can create the same psychological trap. One day they are distant. The next day they are affectionate. One week they ignore you. The next week they make you feel special. And your mind becomes trapped between disappointment and hope. You begin chasing moments instead of reality. A single text message can erase weeks of neglect. One kind gesture can make you forget months of pain. Not because the relationship is healthy, because your brain becomes attached to the emotional reward. The ancient philosopher Epictetus taught that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our attachment to them. And nowhere is this lesson more visible than in unhealthy love. People become attached to stories, attached to potential, attached to imagined futures, attached to who someone could become, instead of accepting who they already are. This attachment creates a strange illusion. You start believing that letting go means losing something valuable. But often, what you're afraid of losing doesn't even exist. You're grieving a fantasy, a possibility, a future that never arrived. Imagine carrying a suitcase for years. It's heavy, it hurts your shoulders, it slows your journey, but because you've carried it for so long, you become convinced it contains something precious. Then one day you open it and discover it was empty all along. That moment is devastating, yet strangely liberating. Because now you can finally put it down. Many people never reach this realization. They continue carrying emotional weight that no longer serves them, not because they are weak, because they confuse familiarity with love. The pain becomes familiar. The waiting becomes familiar. The disappointment becomes familiar. And familiar things feel safe even when they hurt us. Carl Jung observed that people often cling to suffering because suffering is known, while change is unknown. The known pain feels less frightening than the unknown future, so they stay. Not because they are happy, because uncertainty terrifies them, but growth begins the moment you become willing to face uncertainty. The moment you stop asking, "How do I make them stay?" and start asking, "Why am I willing to lose myself just to keep them?" That question changes everything, because now the focus shifts, no longer toward fixing them, toward understanding yourself. And that is where real healing begins. The third brutal lesson is this: sometimes the hardest person to let go of is not the one you loved. It's the version of yourself that believed they would eventually become everything you needed. And until you release that illusion, you remain trapped inside a story that has already ended. Part 4. The final lesson. Learning to love without losing yourself. The greatest lesson isn't how to stop loving. It's how to love deeply without disappearing in the process. After heartbreak, many people make a silent promise. Never again. Never again will I trust this much. Never again will I care this deeply. Never again will I give someone the power to hurt me. And for a while, this feels like wisdom. It feels like protection. But eventually they discover something painful. The walls that keep pain out also keep love out. The answer was never to become cold. The answer was never to stop caring. The answer was never to love less. The answer was to love differently, because the healthiest love is not a surrender of self. It is a meeting of two whole people. Think of two candles standing side by side. One candle does not destroy itself to keep the other burning. Both shine. Both contribute light. Both remain complete. Yet together, they create something brighter. That is what mature love looks like. Not dependence, not obsession, not sacrifice without limits, but connection without self-erasure. The philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Most people interpret this as a lesson about growth, but there is another meaning hidden inside it. Sometimes you must let go of who you became in a painful relationship. The people pleaser. the rescuer, the fixer, the one who carried responsibilities that were never theirs, the one who believed their worth depended on being needed. Because love was never supposed to be your identity. It was supposed to be an experience you shared. And when that distinction becomes clear, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing validation. You stop begging for consistency. You stop convincing people to choose you because you finally understand something powerful. Your value existed before they arrived, and it remains after they leave. This realization changes the way you walk through life. You begin setting boundaries without guilt. You begin speaking honestly without fear. You begin leaving situations that repeatedly disrespect your heart, not because you love others less, because you finally love yourself too. And that is the balance most people spend years trying to find. A balance between an open heart and a strong spine. A balance between compassion and self-respect. A balance between giving and preserving, because true love requires both. Without love, relationships become cold. Without self-respect, relationships become prisons. The strongest people learn to hold both at the same time. They love fully, but they do not abandon themselves. They care deeply, but they do not chase. They commit sincerely, but they do not tolerate endless disrespect. And perhaps that is the final wisdom hidden inside every heartbreak. The person who hurt you may have left with memories. They may have left with years of your life. They may have left carrying pieces of a story that once meant everything. But if the experience taught you how to value yourself, how to recognize unhealthy attachment, how to stop confusing sacrifice with love, then they did not take your future. They revealed it. Because every heartbreak contains a question life eventually asks all of us. Can you love another person without abandoning yourself? Most people answer incorrectly at first. They give everything away. They lose themselves. They learn through pain. But eventually, if they are willing to listen, life teaches the lesson again and again and again, until one day they finally understand. Love is not measured by how much of yourself you sacrifice. Love is measured by how much truth, respect, trust, and freedom can exist between two people. And when you understand that, you stop searching for someone to complete you. You start searching for someone who complements the person you have already become. So if you're carrying the weight of a broken heart right now, if you're mourning someone who couldn't love you the way you loved them, if you're wondering whether all that pain meant anything at all, remember this: the brutal lesson learned from loving too much was never that love is dangerous. The lesson was that self-abandonment disguised as love is dangerous. Your heart was not wrong for loving deeply. Your mistake was believing that another person's acceptance determined your worth. It never did, and it never will. One day, you'll look back at this chapter of your life and realize something surprising. The person you thought broke you actually introduced you to yourself, to the stronger version, the wiser version, the version that knows the difference between love and loss of identity. And when that day comes, you won't regret loving. You'll simply regret forgetting yourself while doing it. Because the most powerful love story you will ever experience is the one that begins the moment you finally come home to yourself. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below with one lesson heartbreak taught you. And remember, protect your heart, open your heart, but never lose yourself trying to keep someone who is willing to lose you.